If you're past soixante, every morning meal, you have the foods you choose. The drinks you reach for can either support your heart or quietly wear it down. Most older adults think they're on the right track by skipping fried foods or cutting back on bacon. But what if I told you that some of the so-called healthy breakfasts you've come to rely on might actually be working against your heart? Over the past 30 years as a cardiologist working with seniors, I've seen this same pattern again and again. People trying their best eating granola, sipping fruit juice, enjoying flavored yogurt, yet still struggling with high blood pressure, low energy, dizziness, and irregular heartbeat. The problem is, many of these foods aren't as heart-friendly as they seem. Some are quietly causing more harm than good. In this video, I'll walk you through 9 common breakfast mistakes that could be undermining your heart health, and show you simple, satisfying options to replace them. You may be surprised by what's sitting in your kitchen right now, and I promise the last one might just transform the way you think about breakfast. Stick with me. Your next meal could change everything. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Instant breakfast cereals. The heart-healthy lie that's hurting seniors every morning. Every time I walk through the breakfast aisle at the store, I feel a quiet concern. There's so much color. So many boxes claiming to be heart smart, low fat, or made with whole grains. These labels seem to speak directly to seniors, especially those over 60 who are trying to make responsible choices. But too often, they're being misled. I've seen it in my patients. Again and again. People doing their best, trying to eat clean, and unknowingly harming their hearts with the very foods they believe are helping. Cereal is one of the most deceptive. It carries a feeling of safety. It reminds people of simpler mornings, maybe when the kids were still home, or when breakfast was something quick before a busy day. Now that life has slowed down, it feels like an easy, familiar choice. But the reality is, most of today's cereals, even the ones that claim to support heart health, are packed with refined grains, added sugars, and sneaky sodium. That's a dangerous trio for anyone, but especially for someone with an aging cardiovascular system. Here's what happens when you pour that bowl of healthy cereal. Your blood sugar shoots up quickly because there's not enough fiber to slow digestion. That spike causes a surge in insulin. And if you're in your 60s or 70s, your body likely struggles to handle those insulin jumps, especially if you're pre-diabetic or on medication. Over time, this leads to chronic inflammation, stress on your arteries, and faster plaque buildup. It's not just sugar doing the damage. Many cereals are also hiding sodium that doesn't show up as a salty taste, but still puts pressure on your heart. I remember Mr. Robert Daniels, a 69-year-old retired school bus driver from Ohio. He came in one day and said, "Doc, I've given up red meat. I walk every morning. I don't eat fast food, and I always start my day with heart-healthy cereal." He looked frustrated, tired. His blood pressure had crept up, and his energy was fading. We sat down and read the label on his cereal box together: 17 grams of sugar per serving, over 250 milligrams of sodium, and barely any fiber. That small bowl was putting his body into metabolic stress every morning without him realizing it. So we made a switch. He started eating plain, steel-cut oats, cooked slowly. No added sugar. Topped with a few pumpkin seeds and fresh berries. A month later, he told me, "I finally feel like I'm starting my day on the right foot." I had no idea that cereal was part of the problem. This is what breaks my heart. So many seniors are trying their best, only to be undermined by clever marketing and misleading labels. You deserve better. If your cereal has more than 5 grams of sugar or too much sodium per serving, it's not serving you. It's setting you back. And that's just the cereal. What if the real trouble is sitting right beside it on your plate? Let's talk next about what's hiding inside your bacon and sausage, and why the danger might be sizzling beside your toast. 2. Sausages and bacon. The savory breakfast tradition that's slowly clogging your arteries. If there's one smell that takes you right back to cozy mornings and family kitchens, it's the sound and scent of bacon or sausage crackling in the pan. For many seniors, these aren't just breakfast foods, they're part of a cherished routine, a slice of comfort, a taste of home. But after more than 3 decades caring for aging hearts, I've seen the quiet harm these morning staples can do. And the most troubling part, that harm often builds slowly without pain, without warning, until it's too late. Bacon and sausage, whether they're labeled uncured, lean, or smoked, are loaded with saturated fats, excess sodium, and preservatives like nitrates and nitrites. These additives, when consumed regularly, set off a cascade of issues inside the body. They inflame the lining of your blood vessels, increase blood pressure, and contribute directly to plaque buildup in your arteries, a process that can lead to heart failure, strokes, or a serious cardiac event. After the age of 60, the body doesn't respond to these ingredients the way it once did. Arteries naturally become less flexible. The kidneys lose efficiency. The cardiovascular system becomes more reactive to sodium, fats, and hidden chemicals. What your heart used to manage in your 40s can now become a strain. Every time you begin your day with processed meat, you're making your heart work harder to circulate blood through vessels that are narrowing, stiffening, and becoming more vulnerable. Let me tell you about Mr. Carl Benson, a 76-year-old retired mechanic from Michigan. Carl came to my clinic complaining of shortness of breath and low energy during his morning walks. He was a disciplined man, took his blood pressure medication, never smoked, and walked his dog every day, without fail. But when I asked him about his breakfast, he chuckled and said, "Same as it's always been. Two sausage patties, eggs, and rye toast. That's how I get started." We reviewed his labs and imaging together. His LDL cholesterol was elevated. His inflammatory markers were concerning. Most striking, his echocardiogram showed the beginnings of left ventricular thickening. His heart muscle was straining against higher than normal pressure. It wasn't heart failure yet, but the warning signs were there. Quiet, creeping, real. What Carl didn't realize was that his 2 sausage patties alone delivered over 650 milligrams of sodium and nearly 9 grams of saturated fat before he even poured his morning coffee. Add in his age and mild kidney decline, and his heart was carrying a daily burden he hadn't accounted for. We didn't take away breakfast. We transformed it. Carl replaced the sausage with a medley of sautéed vegetables and olive oil. He kept 1 egg, added a few slices of avocado, and topped it all with a sprinkle of ground flaxseed. It wasn't drastic, but it was meaningful. When he returned for a follow-up 2 months later, he had lost 7 pounds, was sleeping better, and told me, "Doc, I don't miss the sausage as much as I thought, but I sure don't miss feeling sluggish. That's the truth about processed meats like bacon and sausage. They don't injure you in the obvious way a fall or fever might. They wear you down in the background, slowly, consistently, and by the time the effects surface, they've often been building for years. That's why they're so dangerous, because they don't feel dangerous until real damage has already been done. If these foods have become part of your morning habit, out of comfort, tradition, or tasty, get it, these routines are hard to let go of. But the question you need to ask yourself is this meal bringing me strength? Or is it silently stealing it? And just when you think breakfast can't hold more hidden threats, there's another surprise waiting right next to your toast. Because the muffin you think is a lighter option, the one you pick up at the bakery or keep in the freezer, it may be hitting your bloodstream with more sugar than a glazed donut. Let's take a closer look at the hidden dangers behind muffins, pancakes, and syrups. Because what's next may be the most deceptive threat to your heart yet. If you've found this helpful so far, to leave a comment with the number 1 below, to let me know you're here. Now, let's continue with point number 3. 3. Muffins, pancakes, and syrups. The light breakfast that's weighing down your heart. There's something undeniably soothing about the warmth of a muffin or a plate of pancakes fresh off the griddle, maybe with a drizzle of syrup or a dusting of powdered sugar. For many older adults, these breakfasts are more than food. They're nostalgia. They bring back memories of lazy Sunday mornings, weekend visits from grandchildren, or quiet moments at the kitchen table with a crossword puzzle and a hot cup of coffee. But while these comfort foods feel familiar and harmless, they can quietly be setting the stage for serious heart trouble, especially if you're over 60. The issue is that the damage isn't immediate. You eat the muffin, you sip your coffee, and you go about your morning. You don't feel anything out of the ordinary until one day you do. Let's talk about why these foods, as cozy as they seem, can be so harmful for an aging heart. Muffins, waffles, pancakes. Most of these are made from refined white flour, contain high amounts of added sugars, and are often prepared with processed oils or trans fats. That's a dangerous combination. The refined flour breaks down almost instantly into glucose, spiking your blood sugar before you've even finished your meal. Add syrup or jam to the mix, and you're delivering a heavy sugar hit to a body that, past age 60, has more trouble processing it. That's because as we age, our cells become less sensitive to insulin, the hormone that moves sugar out of the bloodstream. The result, sugar lingers longer, causing inflammation in your blood vessels, damaging their lining, and triggering oxidative stress that promotes plaque formation. That's how heart disease often begins, not with chest pain or a dramatic moment, but with years of silent wear and tear from breakfast. Worse still, these types of meals usually lack 2 of the most important things your aging body needs: fiber and protein. Without them, there's nothing to slow digestion or provide lasting energy. So after the initial sugar spike comes the inevitable crash, and with it, fatigue, brain fog, and for many seniors, dizzy spells or irregular heartbeat. One patient's story comes to mind. Mr. Leonard Chavez, Bashasan, a retired postmaster from New Mexico, came to see me after his son noticed he was becoming unusually sluggish by mid-morning. Leonard wasn't diabetic. His medications hadn't changed, and his labs looked stable. But when we sat down to go over his habits, the culprit came into focus. Every morning, Leonard treated himself to 2 cinnamon raisin muffins with his black coffee. He figured since they weren't donuts or fried food, they were a better option. But each muffin contained over 22 grams of sugar, almost no fiber, and were made with bleached flour and partially hydrogenated oils, because he was eating them on an empty stomach. They sent his blood sugar skyrocketing, then plummeting before lunchtime. That's when the tiredness, lightheadedness, and occasional palpitations would hit. His heart rhythm was reacting to those sugar swings like a pendulum without an anchor. We made a few simple changes. Leonard swapped the muffins for a bowl of plain Greek yogurt with a handful of walnuts and some chopped apple. After just a few weeks, he came in for his follow-up, smiling. "Doc," he said, "I thought those muffins were giving me energy. Turns out, they were stealing it. That's the hidden danger. These foods don't scream unhealthy. They're not deep-fried or loaded with grease. But for seniors, they can act like silent saboteurs, especially when eaten daily. And let's not overlook the syrups. Most commercial pancake and waffle syrups aren't made from maple at all. They're blends of high-fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, and preservatives. Ingredients that strain your liver, spike your triglycerides, and promote inflammation throughout your cardiovascular system. In other words, they're not just sweet, they're toxic to a heart already under pressure. So if your breakfast plate looks more like a dessert tray, soft, sugary, and syrupy, it's time to pause and ask, is this nourishing me or quietly depleting me? And here's where it gets even trickier. Because after the muffin or waffle, many people reach for a healthy glass of orange juice. But what if I told you that the sugar in that glass may rival or even exceed a can of soda? Let's take a closer look at fruit juices next, because what's hiding in that cheerful morning drink may surprise you even more. 4. Bottled fruit juices. The healthy morning drink that's spiking your blood sugar and silently straining your heart. There's something reassuring about pouring yourself a glass of orange juice in the morning. It feels like a healthy habit, bright, fresh, and full of promise. For decades, it's been a symbol of wellness. A simple way to say, I'm starting my day right. But for those of us over 60, that familiar glass of juice might be quietly working against us, especially when it comes to heart health. Here's the part most people don't realize. Even if the label says 100% juice or no added sugar, most bottled fruit juices are packed with natural sugars, far more than your aging body can process comfortably. And because the fiber from the original fruit has been removed, those sugars enter your bloodstream far too fast. Without fiber to slow things down, the sugar rushes in and causes a spike in blood glucose. That spike forces your pancreas to release a big dose of insulin. If you're insulin resistant or even borderline pre-diabetic, this sudden surge can throw your whole system off balance. And for seniors, that means more than just an energy crash. It means inflammation, pressure on your blood vessels, and increased strain on the heart. All before you've even finished breakfast. I saw this firsthand with one of my patients, Mr. Daryl Hayes, 76 years old, a retired mechanic from Oregon. Daryl came into my clinic complaining of morning fatigue and a strange fluttering in his chest that came and went. His heart tests looked mostly normal, and his blood sugar wasn't high enough to flag diabetes. But something didn't sit right. So I asked him about his mornings. Well, he told me, I always start the day with a big glass of apple juice. I don't drink soda. Never touch energy drinks. I figured juice was the smart choice. The problem was that his 12-ounce glass of juice packed over 35 grams of sugar. That's about as much as a can of soda. And since he drank it on an empty stomach, it sent his blood sugar soaring, triggering rapid insulin release, followed by a crash that left him weak and dizzy. When we ran a 24-hour heart monitor, it showed brief episodes of tachycardia, those strange flutterings occurring about 30 minutes after his juice. Like clockwork. I sat down with Daryl and explained that while whole fruits are healthy, because they come with fiber, juice is a different story. When you drink juice, especially the kind that comes in a bottle or carton, your body treats it more like liquid candy than fruit. His face dropped. I thought I was doing everything right. He said, I've been trying to take better care of myself. So we made a simple change. Instead of juice, Daryl switched to eating a whole apple, alongside a handful of almonds or a slice of whole grain toast with peanut butter. The difference was almost immediate. His energy returned. The chest flutters disappeared. And he told me, I didn't think swapping juice for fruit would do much. But it's made my mornings completely different. And that's the truth I want you to take away. Fruit juice is not the same as fruit. Not anymore. Not at this stage in life. What your body could easily manage in your 30s or 40s now creates unnecessary stress. The sugar, even if it's natural, overwhelms a system that's more sensitive with age. And it's not just orange or apple juice. Grape juice. Store-bought green juices. Even smoothies marketed as natural can pack just as much sugar as soda. When your metabolism has slowed and your arteries are more fragile, every sip matters. If you're still starting your day with juice, thinking it's the healthy alternative, I urge you to think again. Your heart deserves more support, not more stress. Try switching to a piece of fresh fruit paired with a protein or healthy fat. It'll give you steady energy without the sugar roller coaster. Your body will thank you. And so will your heart. And if juice can act like soda in disguise, what happens when your morning coffee isn't just coffee, but a sugary, flavored drink topped with whipped cream and syrup? Let's explore that next. Because what's hiding in your cup might surprise you even more. 5. Flavored coffee drinks. The hidden sugar bomb that's waking up your heart the wrong way. For many older adults, the day doesn't really begin until that first cup of coffee. It's more than a drink, it's a ritual. A quiet comfort. A small moment of normalcy that feels like home. And the truth is, plain black coffee, in moderation, can actually support heart health. But what many don't realize is how far we've strayed from that simple cup. Today's coffee has become something else entirely, a dessert in disguise. All those flavored drinks, mochas, caramel latte, hazelnut brews with whipped cream or vanilla syrup seem like harmless indulgences. A sweet start to your morning. But for someone over 60, these drinks can quietly put the heart under serious stress before the day has even begun. The problem, sugar. And lots of it. Many of these popular coffee drinks, whether from a cafe or made at home with flavored creamers, contain 30, sugar, even 50 grams of sugar in a single serving. That's more than a frosted donut. And it's all in liquid form, meaning your body absorbs it rapidly. That sugar rush causes your blood sugar to spike hard and fast. For aging bodies where insulin sensitivity is already reduced, that sudden spike and the crash that follows can do real damage. I've seen it more times than I can count. These blood sugar fluctuations increase inflammation throughout the cardiovascular system. They raise triglycerides. They add to plaque buildup inside your arteries. It may not feel like much at first, a little fatigue, maybe some brain fog, but over time, these daily hits wear down your system and quietly raise your risk for heart disease and stroke. And we haven't even talked about the caffeine. On its own, caffeine increases heart rate and blood pressure. For younger folks, that might just mean feeling a bit jittery. But for someone in their 60s or 70s, especially those on beta blockers or blood pressure meds, this combination of sugar and caffeine can lead to palpitations, arrhythmias, or more serious cardiac strain. One of my patients, Mrs. Naomi Fletcher, a 74-year-old retired speech therapist from Colorado Springs, came in complaining of tiredness and the occasional fluttering in her chest during the morning hours. She walked daily, ate lots of vegetables, and stayed on top of her medications. Nothing obvious stood out until we talked about her morning routine. Every day, she said, she made herself a hazelnut latte with whipped topping at home. It felt like her little moment of joy. But when we looked at the ingredients, that drink delivered nearly 40 grams of sugar, plus high doses of caffeine. Her body was reacting with elevated heart rate and early signs of atrial irritability, those little flutters she kept feeling. We made one change. Naomi switched to half-calf black coffee with a splash of unsweetened oat milk and a pinch of cinnamon. Within weeks, the fluttering stopped. Her blood pressure stabilized, and during her next visit, she smiled and said, "I didn't realize my coffee was setting off alarm bells inside me." And that's the point. These drinks don't feel dangerous. They feel warm, familiar, even joyful. But under the surface, they set off a cascade of metabolic stress. Your aging heart can't afford to fight off every single day. You don't have to give up coffee, not at all. But if your morning mug looks more like a milkshake than a brew, it's time to rethink what that habit is doing to your heart. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Let coffee be coffee, not dessert in disguise. And if you're thinking, well, I don't do fancy coffee drinks, I hear you, but don't relax just yet. Because there's another breakfast staple that seems wholesome, basic even, but maybe doing just as much damage to your heart. Let's talk about white bread and jam. A pairing that looks innocent on the plate but acts more like sugar and glue in your bloodstream. Stay with me. What's coming next may surprise you even more. 6. White bread and jam. Starting your morning with a dangerous sugar spike. Over the years, I've lost count of how many of my senior patients have said something like this, "Doctor, I don't eat anything too heavy in the morning. Just a slice of toast with a little jam. That's got to be better than bacon and eggs." Right. They say it with a sense of pride, like they've made a smarter, heart-conscious decision. But here's what I have to gently tell them. That simple breakfast, the white bread, the sweet jam is quietly one of the worst ways to start your day if you're over 60 and trying to protect your heart. Let me break it down. White bread is made from refined flour, which means the fiber and nutrients have been stripped away. What's left behind? A fast-acting carb that behaves almost exactly like sugar in your body. Pair that with jam, even the natural or fruit-only kinds, and now you've got a sugar bomb that hits your bloodstream within minutes. The result? A rapid spike in blood sugar, followed by an equally fast insulin surge. And because there's no fiber, protein, or fat to slow it down, your body burns through it quickly, leaving you in a crash not long after. If you're in your OTAs, your metabolism can usually bounce back. But after 60, that blood sugar roller coaster causes your body to enter a state of low-grade inflammation. Over time, that inflammation starts to damage the lining of your arteries, stiffen your blood vessels, and encourage plaque buildup. And that's when the real heart trouble begins. I think of someone like Mr. Vernon Wallace, a 74-year-old retired city bus driver from Kentucky. Vernon was in decent shape, walked a few miles a day, took his medications on time, and stayed away from fast food. But he came to me concerned about recent chest tightness that showed up while shoveling snow one morning. His blood pressure was climbing, and his A1C, a marker for blood sugar, had started creeping upward. He was confused. "Doc, I don't eat bad. Just some toast and jelly in the morning with my coffee. That's it." But when we looked closer, we uncovered the pattern. Every day, Vernon was spiking his blood sugar with that toast and jam combo. No fiber, no healthy fat, just refined carbs and sugar. First thing in the morning, his system never got a break. It was working overtime from the moment he took his first bite. We made a few simple changes. Instead of white bread, he switched to a slice of sprouted grain toast. Instead of sugary jelly, he used a light layer of almond butter and added a few slices of fresh pear. 3 months later, his energy had improved. His blood pressure was back under control. His A1C dropped, and the tightness in his chest hadn't returned. I honestly didn't think breakfast could make that much of a difference. He told me it never felt unhealthy. That's exactly why it's so dangerous. White bread and jam don't feel like a threat. They feel easy, light, familiar. But for the aging heart, they quietly set off the very chain reactions that lead to heart disease day after day. So if your morning starts with that nostalgic toast and jelly duo, take a second look. Your heart might be paying a quiet price, and it may not be noticeable until it's already under stress. And here's where things get even trickier. Because even when you try to make a healthier choice, something crunchy, something with fruit, there's another popular breakfast that fools a lot of smart seniors: granola and dried fruit. It sounds natural. It looks wholesome. But what's really inside that bowl might shock you. Let's dig into it next. 7. Granola and dried fruit. The crunchy health food that's overloading your heart with sugar and salt. For a lot of older adults, a small bowl of granola with a sprinkle of raisins or dried cranberries feels like the perfect way to start the day. It's crunchy, a little sweet, and gives off a natural, healthy vibe. I've had countless seniors sit across from me and say proudly, "Doctor, I don't eat fast food or pastries. I just stick with some granola and fruit in the morning." And on the surface, it sounds like a good choice. But here's the truth, that many don't realize granola and dried fruit are some of the most misleading health foods out there. And for anyone over 60, they can quietly work against your heart. Day after day. Let's take a closer look. Most store-bought granolas are made with added sugars, saturated oils, and even sodium things that help them stay crunchy and tasty on the shelf. The catch: a typical serving size is often much smaller than what people actually eat. It's easy to pour a bowl thinking it's light, but that bowl can hold 250, 300 calories and 15-25 grams of sugar before you've even added anything else. It's a sneaky blood sugar spike waiting to happen. And the dried fruit, unlike fresh fruit, which has water and fiber to slow down sugar absorption. Dried versions are concentrated sugar bombs. On top of that, many are coated in added sweeteners or treated with preservatives like sulfur dioxide, a compound that can cause problems for seniors with sensitive lungs or digestion. When you mix granola and dried fruit together, you're giving your body a rush of sugar with almost no fiber, protein, or healthy fat to help manage it. For someone in their 60s or older, that's a big problem. As we age, our bodies process sugar less efficiently. That means these healthy breakfasts can trigger large insulin surges, raise inflammation levels, and cause oxidative stress on your arteries. If you're already managing prediabetes, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol, this only adds to the strain on your cardiovascular system. I remember Mrs. Doris Hammond, a 78-year-old retired school principal from Oregon, who came in feeling drained by late morning every day. She wasn't diabetic, walked daily, and did her best to eat clean. But something was off. Her blood pressure was inching higher. Her LDL cholesterol had climbed, and she was slowly gaining weight, even though her meals were small. When we walked through her morning routine, the culprit showed up every day. Doris had a bowl of granola with dried cherries and a splash of oat milk. "It's better than a greasy breakfast," she said. But when we added it up, her granola had 17 grams of sugar per serving, and the cherries another 13 grams. That's 30 grams of sugar more than what's in a frosted donut before she even left the house. I explained that while her intentions were good, her breakfast was setting her up for inflammation, insulin spikes, and cholesterol trouble. I never thought something that came from a health food aisle could do that. She told me, so we switched it up. Instead of granola, she now makes a bowl of plain oats with cinnamon, a few walnut pieces, and some fresh berries. Within a few weeks, her energy improved. Her blood pressure dropped, and her cholesterol began moving in the right direction. That's what I want more people to understand. Just because something looks healthy doesn't mean it's helping your heart. Granola and dried fruit might seem like better options, but once you peel back the label, they're often packed with sugar and processed ingredients. Your body can't manage the way it used to. So, if you're reaching for that crunchy bag in the morning, flip it over. Look at the sugar content. Check the portion size. Ask yourself, is this really serving my heart? Because it's never too late to choose something better. And if granola can hide that much sugar behind a health halo, what about yogurt? That cup you're eating for gut health might actually be flooding your system with sugar and undoing the work of your medications. Let's take a closer look at flavored yogurts next, and why they may be one of the most dangerous breakfast traps for seniors. 8. Flavored yogurt. The gut-friendly breakfast that's quietly spiking your blood sugar. Yogurt has built a reputation as one of the healthiest ways to start the day smooth, creamy, gentle on the stomach, and supposedly great for digestion and bone strength. It's especially popular among older adults who want something light, easy, and nourishing in the morning. But here's what many seniors don't realize. If that yogurt is flavored like vanilla, blueberry, peach, or honey, you might be starting your day with more sugar than a candy bar. And for anyone over 60, that's not just a concern, it's a real risk to your heart. See, it's not the yogurt itself that's the problem. Plain, unsweetened yogurt, especially Greek yogurt, is full of protein, probiotics, and calcium. The trouble starts with all the extra stuff manufacturers sneak in to make it taste like dessert. Most flavored yogurts on store shelves are packed with added sugars, fruit concentrates, artificial flavors, and gums. That small 6-ounce cup might look harmless, but it can contain 18 to 25 grams of sugar. That's 5 or 6 teaspoons of sugar in one sitting. And that's before you've even added any toast, juice, or fruit. So what does that do to your heart? As we age, our ability to handle sugar changes. Our pancreas doesn't pump out insulin as quickly. and our cells become less responsive to it. That means when you eat something sugary, especially first thing in the morning, on an empty stomach, your blood sugar can spike hard and fast. And what goes up must come down. That rapid rise and fall doesn't just mess with your energy, it inflames the lining of your blood vessels. It stresses your heart and accelerates plaque buildup. Over time, it's a recipe for high blood pressure, arrhythmias, and heart disease. Let me share the story of Mr. Gerald Kim, a 74-year-old retired firefighter from Colorado. He came into my office complaining of fatigue, occasional lightheadedness, and a fluttery feeling in his chest mid-morning. He wasn't overweight. He walked daily, and his diet sounded clean on paper. "I've swapped the heavy stuff," he told me. "I just do yogurt, some fruit, and tea in the morning now." But when we dug a little deeper, the issue became clear. Every morning, Gerald had a cup of honey-flavored yogurt with a banana sliced on top. That one breakfast was adding nearly 40 grams of sugar to his system before 9 a.m., and without enough protein or fiber to slow it down. The result: big sugar spikes, followed by crashes that left him dizzy and depleted. His blood sugar would skyrocket, then plummet, sending his heart into overdrive, trying to compensate. We made just one switch: plain Greek yogurt, fresh raspberries, and a tablespoon of chia seeds. Within 2 weeks, the palpitations were gone. His energy was stable, and his blood pressure readings improved. "I thought I was being healthy," he said. "Turns out I was just being fooled by the label." And that's the key point. What the package says doesn't always match how your body reacts. Just because it's labeled light, organic, or fruit blended, doesn't mean it's safe. Your heart doesn't read labels. It only responds to what's actually inside. So if yogurt is part of your daily routine, you don't cut it out, but choose smarter. Stick with plain, unsweetened yogurt. Add your own berries or a little cinnamon. Toss in a few walnuts or flax seeds to support your blood sugar and give your heart the support it needs. Because even something that seems so simple, like a morning cup of yogurt, can either help you or quietly hurt you. And if you think skipping breakfast altogether is the better option, think again. That habit, especially common among seniors trying to lose weight, may be putting your heart under even more strain. Let's take a closer look at what happens when you start your day with nothing at all, and why it might be doing more harm than good. 9. Skipping breakfast. To the nothing is better myth that's slowly weakening your heart. A lot of older adults think skipping breakfast is no big deal. Maybe you're just not hungry in the morning. Maybe you're trying to drop a few pounds. You drink a little coffee, take your morning pills, and figure you'll grab something later. It feels like a minor choice, or even a smart one. But for anyone over 60, skipping breakfast is actually one of the riskiest habits you can have for your heart. Let me be direct about this. Your heart doesn't like being ignored first thing in the morning. When you skip that first meal, your body doesn't just wait quietly. It reacts. Your stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, kick in to keep your energy up and blood sugar stable. That system works fine when you're younger. But as you age, your heart and blood vessels become more sensitive, less resilient. That early morning hormonal surge causes your blood pressure to rise, your vessels to tighten, and your cardiovascular system to start the day already under strain. And that's not all. When you skip food, but still take your medication, especially for things like high blood pressure, blood sugar, or heart rhythm, you're setting yourself up for trouble. Without food, those medications can be absorbed too quickly or unevenly, leading to dizziness, drops in blood pressure, lightheadedness, or even fainting. I've seen it more times than I can count. One case that sticks with me is Mr. Calvin Norris, a retired truck driver from Missouri. He was 80 years old when he came into my office after a fall on his front porch. He hadn't passed out completely, but he said everything got fuzzy and off balance. His son urged him to get checked out, just to be safe. We talked through his routine, and that's when I saw the red flag every morning. Calvin took his medications with a cup of coffee, no food until lunchtime. He told me, "I've been doing that for years. I figured if I'm not hungry, why force it?" The problem, Calvin was taking a combination of a beta blocker, a statin, and a diuretic, all on an empty stomach. That mix, with no food to slow absorption or stabilize blood sugar, was throwing his system out of balance. His heart rate was too low, his blood pressure had dipped, and his sodium levels were borderline low. That stumble on the porch wasn't just bad luck. It was his body sending up a distress signal. We adjusted his mornings. Now, Calvin starts his day with something small but steady: half a slice of sprouted toast, one hard-boiled egg, and a couple slices of avocado. He takes his meds with food, and the dizzy spell's gone. I didn't think skipping breakfast was doing anything. He told me, turns out it was doing more harm than I knew. And that's the message I want to share with you. Skipping breakfast doesn't feel like a danger. It feels like nothing. But for an aging heart, that nothing can be everything. When you're older, your body doesn't bounce back like it once did. Your arteries are stiffer. Your energy isn't as forgiving, and your insulin response is slower. That means the stress from skipping breakfast doesn't just fade, it builds up, and eventually, it takes its toll. The good news: you don't need a big, fancy meal. Just something thoughtful. Something that tells your body, I'm here, and I'm paying attention. Because how you begin your day shapes everything that follows: your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your energy, your mood. Now that you've seen how common breakfast habits can quietly chip away at your heart health, let's talk about something far more hopeful: what to eat instead. Up next, I'll walk you through the 10 best breakfasts for seniors, meals that actually support your heart, fuel your energy, and help you feel strong and steady every single day. So, what should seniors eat for breakfast? The heart protective choices that fuel healing after 60. After going through all the breakfast foods that can quietly work against your heart, it's perfectly understandable if you're feeling a bit unsure right now. You might be thinking, so what's left? What can I actually eat that's safe and good for me? And that's exactly the right question, because once you're past 60, every meal isn't just about satisfying hunger anymore. It's about fueling the body in a way that keeps it going strong, especially your first meal of the day. Breakfast is either going to help your heart heal and stay steady, or slowly add to the burden it's already carrying. But here's the uplifting truth. When you start choosing the right foods, even simple ones, they can create a ripple effect, helping lower inflammation, steady your blood sugar, support your blood pressure, and give your heart the nutrients it's quietly begging for. Let me share the story of Mr. Harold Simmons, a 77-year-old retired mailman from Wisconsin. He came to me not with a major illness, but with a feeling he just didn't feel as sharp in the mornings. He said his balance was off. His blood pressure was ticking upward. His energy would dip by mid-morning. and he was worried he was heading toward another prescription bottle. What stood out was his mindset. "I'm not trying to be young again," he told me. "I just want to feel like myself, not slower, not foggier." So we looked at where it all starts. His breakfast. We kept it simple. Nothing trendy. No expensive superfoods. Just real food. Chosen with care. We swapped out the sugary cereal and juice for something more supportive. On most mornings, Harold started eating a bowl of rolled oats. The slow-cooking kind. He added a teaspoon of flaxseed for heart-healthy fats, and topped it off with a few raspberries for natural sweetness and antioxidants, 2 or 3 times a week. We changed it up, a boiled egg, some sliced avocado, and 1 slice of sprouted grain toast. The healthy fats and protein kept him stable, clear, and full, without that mid-morning crash. On Sundays, when he took his time, he enjoyed a cup of plain Greek yogurt, with a few walnuts and a dusting of cinnamon. That small shift made all the difference. Just 3 weeks later, Harold came in for a checkup with brighter eyes. His blood pressure had leveled out. He wasn't dizzy anymore. "I don't feel like I'm playing catch-up with my energy," he told me. "I feel steady. Like I've got a good foundation." That's what I want for you too. If you're over 60, these are the kinds of breakfast staples that can truly protect your heart. Oats, especially rolled or steel-cut. They're full of soluble fiber, which helps lower LDL cholesterol. Avocados, rich in potassium and healthy fats that support your cardiovascular system. Eggs, boiled or poached, offering protein and nutrients without the grease or salt of frying. Plain Greek yogurt, packed with calcium, protein, and probiotics, without added sugar. Berries like blueberries or blackberries, rich in antioxidants that calm arterial inflammation. Nuts and seeds, such as almonds, walnuts, or chia, support blood vessel health and keep blood sugar steady. Cooked veggies like mushrooms, spinach, or zucchini, sautéed lightly in olive oil, make for a savory and nutrient-rich start. Whole grain or sprouted bread offers slow-releasing energy and fiber to balance blood sugar. And olive oil, a much better choice than margarine or butter. With long-proven heart benefits, these aren't just good foods, they're helpers. They work with your medication, not against it. They keep your circulation flowing smoothly and help avoid those blood sugar dips and spikes that wear the heart down. And the beauty of it all, you don't have to be perfect, just consistent. Little habits, repeated daily, are what build a stronger, more resilient heart. So if you've been relying on toast and jam or skipping breakfast altogether, let tomorrow be your turning point. One small change can steer your health in a whole new direction. You have more power than you think. And it starts right there on your breakfast plate. But before we wrap up, there's still one last thing I want to share. It's not about food. It's about how you see yourself. Because your beliefs about aging and health might actually matter even more than what you eat. Let's talk about that next, and why your next heartbeat can still be a fresh start. Final reflection. Your heart still has time, and so do you. If you're still with me, there's something important I want to say, something I wish more older adults heard more often. You're not too far gone. It's not too late. Whether you're 62, 65, or even into your 80s, your heart still has the capacity to improve, to get stronger, and to support the life you want to keep living. But that all starts with the choices you begin making today. Your heart may not be invincible, but it is incredibly loyal. Think about it. It's been beating non-stop from the day you were born. No applause. No breaks. It's carried you through heartbreak, stress, surgeries, joy, loss, recovery, and decades of daily life. And now, after all that service, it's asking for something simple: your care and attention. Here's the reality that's hard to ignore. After age 60, your body isn't the same machine it used to be. Foods that once gave you energy may now leave you sluggish. Habits that used to seem harmless could be slowly wearing down your arteries, affecting your rhythm, your blood pressure, your clarity. You no longer have the same buffer of youth. Your metabolism has slowed. Your insulin response is weaker. Your organs have worked hard for years, and now they need more support, not less. But here's the thing. None of this should make you feel discouraged, because the biggest threat isn't your age or your diagnosis. It's the belief that change is no longer possible, that you're too old, or it's not worth the effort. That belief. It's simply not true. I've cared for thousands of older adults. Some didn't make any changes until after a second heart scare. Others completely shifted their lifestyle the moment they felt their first warning sign. I've watched 83-year-olds bring their blood sugar down from pre-diabetic levels. I've seen folks in their 70s lower their blood pressure significantly just by tweaking their breakfast habits. And I've met widowed men and women who started cooking differently, not out of fear, but because they still had life to live and people to love. You don't need to aim for perfection. You just need to have a heart that's willing. The science is very clear. Poor breakfast routines, like skipping meals, loading up on sugar, or relying on processed health foods, can increase inflammation, destabilize blood sugar, raise blood pressure, and even affect your memory over time. And yes, I know it can feel like there's so much to unlearn, especially when the food industry has spent decades convincing you that sugary yogurt or fruit juice is healthy. But don't let the overwhelm stop you. You don't need extreme diets. You don't need to count every calorie. What you need is awareness. Pay attention to ingredients. Watch your portion sizes. Notice how you feel after you eat. The key is consistency, not intensity. This is about building habits that honor your current body, not the one you had 30 years ago. So, if your mornings have included white toast, sugary cereal, flavored coffee, or nothing at all, please don't beat yourself up. You weren't lazy or reckless. You were doing what you thought was right, based on old habits or cultural norms that never really considered what aging bodies actually need. But now, you're informed. And with that knowledge comes power. Because starting tomorrow morning, even the tiniest shift can change everything. Small, steady improvements can lower your blood pressure, reduce your risk of stroke, protect your brain, and give you more energy to enjoy the things that matter, like playing with your grandkids, taking that walk around the block, or simply waking up feeling more like yourself. You deserve that. You deserve to feel clear, steady, and capable. Not because you want to turn back time, but because you want to live well in the time you still have. So here's what I want to leave you with. Your next meal is a chance. Your next decision is a turning point. Your next heartbeat, it's a gift. Choose to protect it. You're not finished. This chapter of your life still has meaning, strength, and joy. And your heart, if you treat it well, still has so much to give. If you'd like more guidance ideas for meals, tips for routines, or just words of encouragement, I'll be right here. Because this is about more than food. It's about claiming your health, your energy, and your independence on your own terms. If something today resonated with you, I'd love to hear it. Drop a 1 in the comments if you learned something helpful. If not, you're welcome to type 0. Your feedback helps us improve. And please like, share, and subscribe if you'd like more videos like this. Thank you for watching. Here's to living fully and gently every day forward.